So first one is, what's your greatest achievement in life?
Hmm. It's a good one. I don't know. I think maybe it's not the most exciting, but patching things up with my little brother. We never really got along as we were growing up, and then I think once I moved out, that was the deciding factor because we didn't see each other all day, every day anymore. So we didn't really get on each other's nerves, and now we're super close. Like, we hang out, we talk all the time. We don't hang out as much as we'd like to, of course, since I'm here, but we talk at least once a week. We play World of Warcraft together. Like, we're really close, and I really value his relationship. I think that's probably the thing I would be most proud of accomplishing. I wouldn't say I've done anything huge or momentous otherwise, so it might be a little lame, but
What was wrong with your relationship before?
I was actually really mean to him when we were younger. Like, I would gang up on him with friends. We used to go to the Boys and Girls Club after school. Do you know what that is? It's basically just like a club that kids would go to after school until parents got off work and could pick them up. And I had like a whole group of friends there, and we used to just tease him mercilessly, and then he'd cry and we'd be like, oh, his little baby crying. And I still feel bad about that to this day. He was just kind of like the annoying little brother in my eyes, and he initially wanted to, like, I was the older sister, so he says he like looked up to me at that time, but then he's like held a grudge, I think, for how I treated him. So things were just a little rocky even after that, because I never really wanted to hang out with him, and he had kind of given up on trying. So it wasn't awful. Like, we weren't beating each other up or yelling at each other every day, but I wouldn't have described us as close then. So
I think that's a pretty great achievement
I think so too.
as a little brother.
Are you the youngest?
Of two. Yeah.
Okay.
An older sister. Similar story, actually.
Yeah. I think that's more common than it should be, is older sisters are mean to their little brothers.
And maybe older brothers are overprotective or something like that. There's always like potential for something to be wrong.
My older brother is 6 years older than I am, so we didn't really grow up together around that same age. We lived in the same house, of course, but he was so far apart in age. We'd never interacted too much. He was out with his friends, drinking, making stupid decisions, while me and my little brother Michael stayed home. But we've grown a lot closer too now that we're both adults.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what would you describe as your lowest point in life?
Well, in high school, so I used to have this one girl I was like super close with. We were best friends. We hung out every day. And then we had this huge falling out. And we like actually never talked to each other again after that. And that was, I think, my sophomore year of high school. And I couldn't be bothered to make any more friends after that, really. Like, I had acquaintances and we would talk at lunch or whatever, but I never joined any clubs, never really hung out with anybody after school, after me and my friend fought and didn't talk again. So I would just go to school, come back, I would sleep, wake up, have dinner, and then go back to bed. I would probably say I was depressed at that time. You know, I just didn't do anything with my life. I didn't go out and have fun. Didn't interact with people really more than I needed to. And that was probably a good 2 years, my junior and senior year of high school, that I did that.
What led up to that conflict?
I don't even really remember anymore. I'm sure it was some stupid shit. I remember her saying, "And no one even likes you," and then as she was walking away. And that's all I remember, really. I don't recall what the big fight was. I'm sure it was something stupid. And both of us were too stubborn to reach back out to each other and apologize. Goes to show maybe we weren't that good of friends to begin with, if neither of us were willing to make up after that. But honestly, not too sure.
So how did you get out of that phase?
Well, after I graduated high school and went to college, my mom encouraged me to join I think it was RLC, Residential Learning Community in college, and they group, so everyone who's in this community and part of your major, they group you together in the dorms. So you room with someone part of your major, and like the rooms around you are all these people who are getting the same degree you are. And that really kind of forced me to make friends. I was living with someone, I couldn't really ignore them the whole time. And I actually really lucked out. My roommate in college, Isabel, she was a blast. We got along so well. We got into all sorts of goofy shit, like putting condoms on our head and then blowing them up with our nose. And we broke into, so the science building, the third floor had been blocked off due to like asbestos being up there, and they were renovating it. And the roof was blocked off too. That was the access point. So we snuck onto the third floor of this building, and the door to the roof, it was locked, but we were determined to get up to this roof and hang out. And the door had like a little window pane with like wire crisscrossing in it. So I took a brick and I smashed the window of this door, and then ended up cutting my pinky, and I was like bleeding out on the floor. I was like, oh God, evidence, DNA evidence. So we like grabbed our shirts and like wiped it up off the floor. And then we stuck our arm in and unlocked the door and got up to the roof. And that was our new hangout. Like every week we would go and hang out on the roof. And just being so near these people like really forced me to interact and make friends. And I'm still friends to this day with 2 girls from that RLC group. So I think that like got me out of my shell. And my dad said he had the same experience. He was a bit of a loner in high school, and then when you go to college, you have to interact with people. So I think that was what pushed that over the edge. It was fun. We had good times.
It's kind of like here, right?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. After boot camp and after this, I'm like used to being around people now. I'd lived alone the past 4 years before boot camp, so I was very much used to being by myself. But now I'm completely used to living with 2 other girls, seeing everyone all the time. I feel like it'd be lonely if I went back to living by myself now that I'm used to it. But there's some really cool people here, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
There's
a lot of cool people.
Yeah. There's some not so cool people too, but
Sure.
that's everywhere you go.
There's ways to avoid them.
Exactly.
Not engage with them on a particular level.
Yeah. Just like say hi and that's it.
Is there anything you're scared of?
I used to be really scared of spiders. I've kind of gotten over that now. I see lots of videos online of like these cute jumping spiders, and that's kind of helped me get over that fear. I'm not really scared of bugs anymore. But like real fears, probably disappointing my mom. You know, like she always says she's so proud of me, and she has like, she doesn't say it, but I know she has these high hopes for my future. So that would probably, I think I'm scared of not living up to those expectations, even though I know realistically she'd be happy as long as I'm happy. Even if I'm not super successful or, you know, making a lot of money or whatever, as long as I'm happy, I know she would be too. It's kind of one of those irrational fears. I know she wouldn't actually be disappointed in me. And I guess, like, you know, I'm not that scared of heights, but if I'm like when I went skydiving, like looking over that plane was just my entire ass clenched up, you know, like your whole body. but I think that's just survival instincts.
So, were your parents supportive in your childhood? Or how would
Absolutely.
you describe them?
Absolutely. My mom has always been very supportive, very loving, very affectionate. My dad too. They're both great. I know I got really lucky with my family because I hear these awful stories from, my roommates, from people here, how they did not have the same thing. My mom's always been very supportive, and she's always had my back, no matter what. I like to think I'm well adjusted, so I have her to thank for that. I often joke with her, she should have raised everybody, and then we'd all be better off.
Yeah.
She's like, that sounds like a lot of work.
I have a similar feeling with my parents. I told my mom today, like, compared to some other people who weren't lucky, I feel like I have a cheat card.
Yeah.
I can just, it's my, like, phone joker.
Yeah.
Something. I know I can always call, and they'll if I'm feeling bad, they'll listen to me, or if I'm just bored, they'll entertain it, even if I'm not.
You can just chat about nothing with them. Yeah. I had the feeling that you had a good relationship with them when we were talking the other day about it. And I'm always so happy to hear that. Like, kids need good parents. If you're not going to love your child and not going to look after them, you shouldn't have a kid in the first place.
That's not how the world works.
Unfortunately.
Times, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately not. Do you have would you say your mom or your dad is your favorite? Or do you not want to be caught on camera saying that?
I think they're both, like, my favorite in different ways. Like,
yeah.
I spent more time with my mom because my dad would work a lot. But that would only make, like, the time when he was available seem special.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I think at this point I don't have a favorite.
Yeah.
Like, I even try to take turns who I call. You know?
So they don't feel left out. Yeah.
You know? Like, they probably have to do with me and my sister, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
can't show the favoritism.
I mean, in best case, you don't have it.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's always true, or possible.
It sounds like they're awesome parents, so I don't think they do have favoritism. I would bet they love you and your sister equally.
Probably.
Yeah.
The next one is, what makes you happy?
Definitely my family. You know, hanging out with my mom. She's just the most badass woman ever. I love her so much. And I mean, like, a good weather. Like, sitting out on a patio with, like, some snacks, maybe a drink, just like the breeze on your face. Like, gorgeous scenery. Like, any scenic landscape, I'm immediately happy. I mean, of course, got to be cliche and say, you know, a good book, good movie, good show. I feel like I generally tend to be happy. So it's like a lot of things. Like a cute animal. Like, I don't know which one it is. That one petty officer who brings her dog to our runs sometimes. You know the dog? Like, she's so cute. That made my entire day, getting to pet her. She was, like, jumping up on me, hugging me. It was cute. Just the little things, I guess. Yeah.
Have you ever been in love?
I don't think so. Honestly, I had actually that best friend I told you about, we had a falling out and we never talked again. I had, like, a serious crush on her for probably a good 5 years, but I don't think I would describe it as being in love. So I'd probably say no. to that. What would you say?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. But it wouldn't be the same today, right? So what I thought was love at that point, now I would think as like maybe curiosity or like nothing of that deep sort. But for the time, for my age, it was definitely love. But yeah.
Maybe you'd see it more as just like an infatuation now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, is that something you look for, or I know a lot of people are. They see that as like if your life is good and you have all your needs fulfilled, that's like something they look for.
That's like the end goal.
Not the end goal, but among the goals. Is it like that for you, or do you not care?
Recently, I have been wanting to find something like that, but I'm also happy by myself, and I feel like if the time and the person is right, it'll happen, and it's not something I really stress about, like, or go out of my way to look for. I feel like if it'll happen, it'll happen. But yeah, I think maybe the last year or so, I've been kind of wanting that more than I ever have. Because like those 4 years I lived alone, I didn't want to date anybody. I was like, that's a lot of work. Gotta talk to that person every day. You gotta like go out of your way and do all these things for them. But that's any human relationship, even friendships. And I don't really see it as a lot of work anymore. That's how I used to feel. That would be something I would be willing to not accommodate. That's not the word I'm looking for. But something I would be happy to do, to have love.
So, maybe on a similar note, like, what would be a goal that you're striving for? Like, if you say you're happy, like you're content with things as it is, and you don't try to break your back doing something, forcing something. Like, is there some kind of ideal, some concept? It could be like philosophical or political. Is there anything that you see as for some it's religion, right? Is there like a higher thing that you work towards?
Not really, no. I mean, the most important thing to me at the end of the day is my own happiness, and maybe going out and experiencing life, seeing different parts of the world, and doing things I've never done before, making friends. But I wouldn't say I have this big goal or ideal I'm working towards, really. I feel like we were just put on this earth to have fun. I would say there's no like deeper meaning to why we are here. We're just here to live. What would you say?
Part of it would be like maybe self-improvement.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Practicing things. I really draw a lot from that. Growth. Maybe like trying to improve like your immediate surroundings as well, not in the sense of altruism and giving away all my stuff or something like that.
Yeah.
But being a good influence. Maybe, and this is ironic because I'm in the military, but like nonviolence is something I believe in. And
me too.
Like not beating your kids and not always picking the rough route. And like I think that sometimes I believe in something like fate.
Yeah.
but I don't associate a higher power with it. I'm not religious.
Yeah.
I've tried praying to God recently because I did this interview with Rampio, and
he's very religious.
He would rave on about God. So
oh
like,
my gosh!
You know what? I'm gonna
try it.
I'm do a half-a-minute prayer in my head. You know. Like,
okay. How did that go?
I haven't gotten a call back, but you know, it's like, I always have a monologue in my head. So whether I direct it at someone or not doesn't make a huge difference. But like, it's not a bad thing. I think if it makes people overcome problems, I think it's a good thing.
To some people, it helps to think of this powerful entity, you know, who's decided to create you, who's decided to put you on this earth, and who has a plan for you. It can be comforting for people to think that, I believe. So, I'm not religious either, but I understand why people are. You think he might keep that up? Like the pray, or was that just like...
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe if you drop some rice and it spells out a word, maybe that'll be your sign.
Yeah. I count it as something similar to journaling for me. It's just formulating a thought.
Yeah.
Putting it somewhere, directing it somewhere to help me reflect on it.
Yeah. Just putting it out in the universe.
I guess.
Yeah.
So, do you have something that inspires you in life?
Like creatively, or just like in general?
Could be either.
Well, since you said self-improvement, and that definitely struck like a chord with me. I would say that inspires me to do a lot of things, like to, instead of arguing with someone, just to talk it out, you know, like adults. Definitely something that I feel like, maybe that's not the best example, because I feel like I've kind of always been able to do that. But like, I don't know, that's a hard one. I'm gonna switch tactics here and kind of go back to like the beauty of nature. That inspires feelings of calmness and peace in me, I would say. And sometimes seeing other people's art online, like I'm on Pinterest all the time, and I see some beautiful art on Pinterest, and I've never been much of an artist myself, but it like inspires me to think differently, I think. So seeing what other people have done and the work they do inspires my creative thinking, I think, even if I don't necessarily do anything with it. Yeah, I might have to leave it at that.
I think nature is big enough for something that inspires you.
Yeah.
Do you have a role model?
I feel like I've been talking about her a lot, but definitely my mom. She was in the Army and the Navy, and now she's working this big head honcho position in her company. She always has time for her family. She's like the sweetest person. And she's funny too. Like, how can she be all these things at one time? She always makes me laugh. She's definitely my role model. And I tell her that. She calls me, like, her nickname for me is Pants. And so I call her my suspenders because she holds me up. She didn't like it at first, and then I explained it, and she was like, okay, I guess I'll allow it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm curious who your role model is.